Hello and welcome back to Bookmark Chronicles. Today we are reading 5-star reviews of my lowest rated books of 2020. This is probably gonna have to be a two-part video because I don't like making super long videos. I record on my phone, so it just makes it really difficult. Kudos to the booktubers that do, but I cannot. The inspiration from this video came from Monae over at Life is Monae. She did this first, and I will leave a link to her video in the description below. So let's get started. The first 4 books that I'm going to talk about were all mentioned in my mid-year wrap-up. So let's do it. If I happen to get to any spoilers, I will be sure to warn you beforehand and give you a time jump so you can go to the next book. Hi, I forgot to mention the book that I'm talking about. It is The Afterlife of Holly Chase. So yeah. So I clicked on the first 5-star review and it's one of my favorite booktubers. Granted, it's from 3 years ago and I don't know if she'd still feel the same way, but the review I'm just not gonna say who it is, but anyway, so they said, I thought this book was absolutely amazing. I can't believe that this book even has mixed reviews. I love the take on A Christmas Carol. While Holly is not the most likable character in the beginning of the book, she does develop and grow and understand how her actions and certain aspects of her personality are flawed. It was quick-paced and I definitely enjoyed the dry sense of humor. I think what I enjoyed most about this book is that it doesn't revolve around the relationship between the male and female lead. Sure, there is a romance, but this book is so much more than that. I appreciated that more than anyone could possibly know. It was completely and totally amazing. If you haven't read this book, I recommend that you pick it up soon. Well, I'm gonna have to disagree with all of that because first and foremost, Holly is not likable, and that's the point. She's a Scrooge, whatever, that's fine. In my opinion, the romance was unnecessary, and that's typically how I feel about romance in any genre that's not romance. Like, this book is not classified as a romance, so I disagree with that. And I do kind of feel like the romance was kind of the focal point once it started because, well, the only reason that Holly changed her behavior was over a dude. And I get that she's 17 or whatever, but like, what the fuck? Not only that, I feel like the romance was the focal point because it's when she met this boy that she started to want to change her ways because she wanted to protect him, which was weird. Like, they really didn't know each other that well, and she was like breaking the rules of her job to sneak out and lie to him and pretend to be someone she wasn't. On top of that, after this happened, she goes back in time to the first time she died, which is like 5 years prior, and the dude that she was like in love with was like 12 at the time. So like, it wasn't supposed to be a long-lasting romance, but still, that just felt really weird to me, so it's a no. Okay, so I figured it out. I'm friends with the booktuber on Goodreads, which is why their review came up first. I am going to make sure that does not happen again. The next book, which I rated 2 stars, I think, was The Call by Padera O'Gillian. I hated this book. I thought it was absolutely terrible. There was a ton of sexism and misogyny and ableism, and the concept of it was sort of interesting at first, but the further into the story we got, the weirder shit got, and it wasn't for me. Here's a 5-star review of it. Wow, I flew through this book. It was unputdownable. I don't think that's a word. Imagine the Hunger Games, but instead of only one group of kids a year having to go, what? But instead of only one group of kids a year having to go, every single teen has to go at one point. Okay. And instead of fighting each other to the death, there are ugly, twisted, vicious monsters chasing you down to torture you and kill you. You only have to survive the day, but only 1 in 10 makes it out alive. And even then, you are not without emotional and physical scars. It was brutal, dark, bloody, sadistic, yeah, really good. The back cover says that this book is a must-read for anyone who's been sleeping too well at night. I have to agree. Unless you are a bloodthirsty reader with a heart of stone like me, I'll be sleeping fine, but I love this book. I mean, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but this book was trash. And apparently it's a series. At least The Call is book 1. Don't know what the second book's called, don't care. The characters in this book really suck. Like, so the comparison to the Hunger Games, I did not get Hunger Games vibes at all. Mind you, I also read the Hunger Games this year. In the Hunger Games, Cato is probably the worst of the tributes, and he's still not even close to as despicable as the villain in this book. So I don't see the comparison. The next book is Cracked Up to Be by Courtney Summers. This was also a 2-star read for me. I wasn't really a fan of the plot or the character, so. This book was everything that I hoped it was going to be and then some. And I wish that I was a good writer so that I could write a worthy review of this book. Why can't I just say that I loved it and that it was one of the most compelling books I've ever read, and that just be enough? Because really, I don't know why I like any book, I just do. But if I must, I guess I will. Well, first of all, if you feel that way, then you shouldn't be pressuring yourself to write lengthy reviews if you don't feel like doing it. There's no rule. You can say whatever you want about it. You don't have to do this. Anyway, the writing. If I had known this was Summer's debut novel, I wouldn't have believed it. One of my first favorite books of all time is Speak by Laurie House Anderson, and this book parallels its greatness. It does not, because Speak is perfect. It may even surpass it. That is disrespectful to Speak. Yeah, it's that good. Okay. I hope to be reading Summers in the future. She is an author to watch. I don't want to get into the plot so much because I want everyone to go in without predispositions. Well, at least I don't personally want to give anything away. I'm sure if you do some digging, you can find some things out, but believe me, you don't want to. I will say this much. I thought I had figured it out and I was wrong, and that is usually not the case. I found this somewhere and I don't remember where, but it totally sums this book up. A frightening and sobering look at the cruelty and viciousness that pervade much of contemporary high school life, as real as today's headlines. I will give it that. It is a very real story, one that is either not talked about enough or painted in a particular way where nothing is resolved. So, all right, I'll give it that. Yeah, I really wish I had written that myself. This book does not have a sugary coating, which only makes me like it even more. I'm not sure if I agree with that because it takes for fucking ever to get to the thing that we need to know. And the characters, particularly Perfect Parker Fadley, made this book an unforgettable read. Parker's a bitch, and I understand that she was traumatized, but turning your trauma to you acting terrible towards literally everyone in your life that's not an excuse for your actions. Would I recommend it? Absolutely. Have I already been recommending it? You better believe it. Who knew it was this hard to be perfect? So this is one that does have a lot of trigger warnings for it. The thing about it is that I just didn't agree with Parker. I know that everybody handles trauma in different ways, but not only were her decisions not helpful to anyone, least of all herself, we really don't find anything out until the very, very end. I just don't agree with Parker's handling of the situation from the beginning to the end. If I'm in a situation where I can help somebody out, I'm gonna do it. So the last book that I'm gonna talk about today is The Missing Sister. I thought this one was gonna be so good. It sounded so interesting, and flop, huge flop. I did not enjoy it at all. It kind of gave me a little bit of Taken vibes, which like really didn't do anything for me either way. Like that didn't sway me at all. But here's the first 5-star review that I found. The Missing Sister captured me on the first page and did not let me go until the last. It explored the depths of the bond between identical twins in particular and brothers and sisters in general. I don't know if I agree with that because there were certain parts of it where the twins could have just communicated a little better. So, all right, I'm gonna keep going. Shayna has come to Paris after the disappearance and possible murder of her identical twin, Angela. All has not been well with the twins as of late, and they have not communicated in the past 3 years. Also really odd to go for so long without speaking to your only sibling, in my opinion. Also, their parents are dead. That's not a spoiler. It says so in the beginning. So like, you're talking about this bond between siblings who only have each other and haven't spoken in 3 years. After arriving in Paris, Shayna discovers a message left for her by her sister in a secret language they developed when they were children. Now knowing that Angela may still be alive, Shayna attempts to follow in Angela's footsteps as she tries to find her. Angela has warned Shayna to trust no one and tries to follow this instruction. But she doesn't even speak the language. Many seek to help her. First there is Seb, Angela's supposed boyfriend. Then there's Jean-Luc, a worker at the American Embassy. There's also Valentine, the police inspector, who claims to be searching for a serial killer. And what about Matthew, who leads the tours of bordellos? Do these people really want to assist Shayna, or did one or more of them kidnap and or kill her? I enjoyed The Missing Sister immensely. It keeps you guessing with plenty of twists and turns. Mara develops the characters beautifully. That is incredibly debatable. And it's difficult to tell the good guys from the bad. Highly recommend. Yeah, so no. I was constantly bored while reading this book. I felt like the connection between the sisters was not there. Shayna also does some really dumb shit, and I felt like the process was just prolonged. I felt like the author just wanted to keep writing, and so all these extra things are thrown in that make zero sense. They're not important to the plot, and at the end of the day, the writing itself wasn't even that great, so not my fave. So those are some 5-star reviews of books that I hated, and I'm really surprised at some of them. I'm not gonna lie, I am a little disappointed. But let me know in the comments what you thought of this video, what you thought of the books that I mentioned. Next, should I continue with the second half of 5-star reviews of books that I hate, or should I read 1-star reviews of books that I love? That doesn't sound fun. I mean, I'll do it, but it doesn't sound enjoyable. But either way, leave me your thoughts in the comments. Otherwise, that's all I have for you, and I'll see you in the next video.